Well, folks, good day to you one and all, and welcome to yet another round of what's probably already one of the favorites in the iRacing in South Africa. And we're doing touring cars tonight, and it's going to be something completely different. A lot of top races, not a lot of space out there on this circuit whatsoever. It's actually a very tight circuit that we're going to be on. So, joining me in the studio, the voice of West Brom's motorsport, man that had a rave down at Knockhill International Raceway just 2 days ago. Frankie Ennis, good evening to you.
Gaz, how's it? And everybody else at home, hello and welcome. And yes, it was a rave at Killarney last weekend, especially with the GTI Challenge. But that is in the past. We are here today doing the iRacing, the touring car challenge, and we come to you from the Knockhill International Circuit there in Scotland. And to my knowledge, it is the only main circuit that they have there in Scotland. 19 degrees Celsius out there. They say there's a 91% chance of rain, but that's highly unlikely. Partly cloudy and 27 kilometers an hour wind on the circuit.
Right, so we're 2 minutes 25 into the qualifier, and wow, this is going to be something pretty interesting because there is about 9 or 10 guys in the practice, the warm-up session that has just been completed. 38 minutes of the practice before this, and then we saw that the guys at one stage, there was 14 people within a second of one another. So as they all going to get a chance to do 2 laps, as you can see, it's an 8-minute session. The man that's just gone to the top of the leaderboard, that is Johan Ferry. And well, you can see he's using the curbstones and everything that's available to him. Joined from the RS, the man's going to be down here at Knockhill International Raceway with the Mobile 1 V8s with the Extreme Festival in a couple of weeks from now. Francois Botha once again, him and Luca Chizzi are doing prominent factors in racing for the elderly guys recently. Byron Mitchell, young gun, doing a lovely job out there to get himself provisionally on the front 2 rows of the grid. Rounding out the top 5, Willem Botha in his favorite colors, Toyota Gazoo South Africa.
Yeah, and if I have a look at all the cars out there, we've only got 2 Audis, of which one of them is there on the screen, Sander Bakari. The other one is Clinton Besaidnout, and as we speak about that, it is Yuri Swart with a 51.375. He is the quickest man out there in the Falcon Tires Hyundai, and that is Jonty Weiss that we look at there in that 31 car. Jonty currently 7/10 of a second off provisional pole sitter Umpi Swart, and it's lovely to see this young man back again. That is Dario Busi. He is out there with the Hyundai, 1.1 seconds off Umpi Swart. He's been away from the iRacing scene and the sim racing for quite some time, and he is the 2020 SA National Polar Cup champion.
Oh, he pops it up onto the 3rd row of the grid. Another man we're waiting to see how he works out there is the Stu Davidson entry, and that's Clinton Besaidnout. And let's see, he has not got a time up yet, as he's completing the last section of the lap. Let's see, he works his way through that very, very tight hill climb. He slowed it right down. So obviously he feels that that lap is not good enough, and he has made sure that he gets a perfect drive coming down the front main to do a quick lap. He'll make it. It's 5 minutes and 9 seconds in. It's less than a minute a lap, 20-minute races. So probably around about 22 laps, barring accidents. And I think, Frankie, there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, especially when they go through Duffs and into McIntyre, that little dogleg piece over there, that's going to cause them trouble. And that is literally going into turn 1 through a little left-hander and into turn 2. And if the guys are going to be silly there, I think there's going to be a lot of issues out there. So that is Clinton Besaidnout. Here comes Jason Kutsia. We see Jason Kutsia out there. He is 4/10 of a second. Jason puts it there in that 2nd position.
That was good.
Yeah, 2/10 behind Yuri Swart. And then Willem Botha Willem Botha in the Toyota Gazoo Hyundai. That doesn't sound quite right, does it? And then Clinton beside note again. He done a PB of a 52.1411, and Clinton a second off provisional pulse at Umpiswat. At this point in time, the first 15 cars is separated by 1 second.
So one of the guys that you don't see, let's see, there we can find him over there. That in fact is Troy Dolenchek. The reason why you have not seen Troy Dolenchek out on circuit is because he did not serve a drive-through penalty at the previous race, and for that purpose he has now had an extended penalty, if you want to call it that, and he is due to start from the entrance to the pit lane. So lone qualifying, it's everybody out there by themselves. There comes Willem Botha. Let's see if he can get himself up higher than the 4th row. Comes past the start-finish line. No difference there for him. Johan Verriez already into the pit lane. Clinton Bezuidenhout is still out on circuit, so he obviously started off late with his qualifying. He finds himself a long way down on row number 8, 15th position. A little bit there further behind him, Sander Bakari, Jonathan Westhuizen, Herman Lazarus, and Werner Swart. But Swart has he has put up a lap, and he hasn't done much practicing at all as Swart. So he finds himself a long way down, 19th position. In fact, we've just got 19 seconds to go. Clinton Bezuidenhout, the last man out there. Can he take the Stu Davidson car higher up? Surely he can. No, he doesn't. He stays a second off it. Wow, that's interesting stuff.
Well, Gary, sorry to say, the car number 23, Willem Botha, will have a drive-through penalty, which he has to serve 3 laps from the start, as well as car 44, who's not out there, Stephen McCarthy. So if Stephen had raced today, he'd also have to do a penalty, but Stephen not out there. So here we go. Qualifying done. And we are about to go racing. Row number 1, Yuri Swart and Jason Kutsia. Row 2, Julian Familiaris and Byron Mitchell. Row 3, Jan Fourie and Francois Hubert. Row 4, Nathan Victor, Dario Busi. And row 5, Willem Botha and John T. Weiss.
That rounds out the top 10. Swayze Hubert from Luke Kezi down in 12th position from Jaco Steyn, the man that put this all together. Sure, didn't expect them to be that far down. Swayze Hubert, Luke Kezi, Jaco Steyn, Peter Hubert, Clinton Bezuidenhout, a long way back, Sandra Bakari, Jonathan Westhuizen, and Herman Lazarus, that still got Werner Swart and Troy Dolenchek behind that, remember, coming out of the pit lane.
And then followed there by Seth van der Beely. The lights are on, the lights are off. This is 20 minutes of absolute mayhem, and the lovely start there by Yuri Swart. Yuri sits out there in P1. Familiaris is in second. Verriez there in third. He's muscled his nose ahead there of Byron Mitchell, as Mitchell goes up to third. Farina drops down to that 4th position. And Nathan Victor and Dario Busi right in there, followed there by Jason Kutsia. What a lovely start there as they're making their way down into that right-hander. But Yuri Swart has already decided now's the time to pull the pin and disappear, because this circuit, especially that dog leg, can cause you lots and lots of issues. They will look at Johan Fourie going through right behind Johan Fourie is Jason Kutsia. The guys are diving all around each other. That is the final corner of the hairpin, and that will conclude the lap as they race down back again into turn 1 into Duff's Dip.
Well, I'm actually quite surprised that so many cars made it through. I was expecting to be sliding as he comes through there. Byron Mitchell. So front end of the grid is Yuri Umpiswart, and well, look, Yuri is free. There's no doubt about it. Byron Mitchell, we're right in there behind him. Julian Familiaris using the curbstones, already got those back brakes, looking like it's very hot, just touching on the dirt. Nathan Victor, bit of a gap back to Johan Fourie, right in there behind him. Dario Busi with the plain black vehicle, nothing much on there. The Gazoo motorsport car of Willem Botha running off the circuit as they take a little bit of a left-hander. A lot of elevation on the circuit. In fact, there's 120 feet of elevation going through 9 corners. Willem Botha in the Honda. Jason Kutsia right in there behind him in the Hyundai N colors as such. Then Luke Lucchese eventually finding himself outside of the top 10, and now into it. Francois Hubert getting in there, and well, they're just so close to one another. Where do you go and look?
Yeah, then there's Jaco Steyn coming through as well. Right behind Jaco Steyn is Jarno van der Westhuizen. That is Jaco Steyn you see there. Right in there behind the 88, you'll find Jarno van der Westhuizen. There comes van der Westhuizen. He's got the other Audi there, one of two Audis of Sandro Bakari right in there with him. And then Swaysh Hubert in the Liqui Molly Honda. Then it's a Peter Hubert in the Skunk 2 racing outfit there of Hubert. That's Peter. Then Van der Swart coming through in there behind him. Jonty Weiss is in the house as well. Then Willem Botha, Toyota Gazoo Racing. And then Herman Lazarus. And then the 19th car out there is Seth van der Abile.
Well, let's go back to Julian Familiaris. I think they're very close to one another. Oh, look how he's working that car over. Julian Familiaris is doing a pretty good job holding on to the back there of the young gun Byron Mitchell. Now, I see Byron Mitchell is using a little bit less curbstones and bouncing around just a little bit less. Is that what makes the difference? Oh, look at that, losing the tail in Nathan Victor. But he's got a long train of cars in there behind him.
Yeah, Nathan Victor's got the Johan Fourie, Dario Busi and Jason Kutsia in that train in there behind him as we look back from Nathan Victor's car to the nose there of the Monster Energy Honda of Johan Fourie, who's 0.2 of a second in there behind Nathan Victor. Then Dario Busi is right there on his case. 0.7 of a second behind him is Jason Kutsia. The quickest man out there with a 51.441 is Familiaris. And this is a replay at Seth van der Abile going through that dogleg section and getting the tail end wagging heavily there on that Honda of his.
That's why he is in fact so far further back. So Umpi Swart doing a lovely job, and once again, this is not the first time, Frankie, that we see him up dust and disappear at the beginning of a race.
Now, as a matter of fact, when it comes to real-time racing, he did it twice last weekend in GTI Challenge Class A, but this is something completely different. Mitchell and Familiaris, second and third, 3.9 of a second between the two of them. And then we see Nathan Victor. Look who's right on Nathan Victor's case, Johan Fourie. Right there with him is Dario Busi, followed there by the Iron Man, young Jason Kutsia, that sits there in that 7th position. And Jason 0.5 of a second behind. Look at this one. Francois Hubert has got Jaco Steyn and Luc Lequesi right there for company as well. Francois Hubert, Jaco Steyn and Luc Lequesi. And closing up on them, only 1.7 seconds behind them in P11 is Jarno van der Westhuizen, and even he's been hassled heavily there by Sandro Bakari. But this is the one we're looking at there. There is Jaco Steyn. He sits between the combination of Francois Hubert that's ahead of him and Luc Lequesi that's in there behind them, and then dropping slightly off them now in P11 is Jarno van der Westhuizen.
The elevation, as we said, 120 feet of elevation that you have on the circuit, and well, you can see lots and lots of ups and downs. Let's go a little bit further back. That is the one we were looking for, Sandro Bakari, and that's a 0.3 of a second that he's in there behind the return to, I wouldn't say return to motorsport, but pretty much return to iRacing, being Jarno van der Westhuizen. And initially, the first part of the practice, Jarno was right at the bottom of the board. You could see he was very, very rusty. But he's qualified well and doing a pretty decent job out there right now. Let's go back to the top door. There's a lot of people in the pits. There's Willem Botha in the pits. Swaysh Hubert that's in the pits. There's Clinton Bezuidenhout that's there in the pits. There's Kurt Dolenchik that's in the pits. And all of these guys are, I think, trying to fix up a bit of damage at this stage, if you ask me. So this man doing a beautiful job, just drifts it through. And he's now got a decent gap between himself and Byron Mitchell, who's now also getting away there from Jude Miliares. Johan Fourie, the ex-South African main circuit V8 champion, doing a lovely job, loves his monster colors. Starting to get a bit of a gap between himself and the young gun, Dario Busi, ex-National Polo Cup champion. Jason Kutsia, the Iron Man, doing a pretty decent job with the Hyundai. Lots of Hyundais out there. Bit of a gap and bit of space back to Nathan Victor. And then there's that three-car battle that we were busy with. Led out by Francois Hubert in the Alpha Tower.
Yeah, Francois Hubert, and right behind him is Jaco Steyn and Luc Lequesi. Not too far behind them You see Janu van der Westhuizen and Sander Bakari, but we have a look at these three. Here comes Janu van der Westhuizen up 6 positions. Is van der Westhuizen, and the 52.4 is his last lap. And he's got Sander Bakari right in there behind him, only 0.6 of a second between them. Then Jonty Weiss is all over the back end there of Pieter Hubert. There's Pieter, there's Jonty there behind them. Then it's a Werner Zwart, and right in there behind Werner Swart, 1.1 seconds behind him in P16 is Herman Lazarus.
Jason Kasia looks like he's on the move. Jason Kasia closing down there on Dario Busi. Is that not too like see there's young guns going one-on-one?
Dario Busi, Jason Kasia, well, all of them except for Johan Fourie, that's in that 4th position. That first 7 is all young hot shots, and it's only Fourie that's in there between them. But look at Jason Kasia. Jason Kasia pressurizing the back end there and flashing lights at the Dario Busi, saying, come on, Dario, get a move on. You've got to try and catch the old war horse himself, Johan Fourie. This is replay at Nathan Victor. Coming down towards us, Lucas all over his back end, and that is Fourie, and there was contact between the two of them, and then 3 cars got past Nathan Victor.
That cost him quite a bit. That's why he is in the position that you see now. So Jason Kasia is pretty close, but another man that's not giving up whatsoever is that man Julian from the RS. He can see Byron Mitchell right in front of him, although the lead car has updusted and disappeared. That's Seth van der Wiele, the man that rides the Class C GTI Challenger, the engine space sponsored class at Killarney International Raceway. And he was in fact up at Elvis Scribanti a couple of weeks back, and I think it was the first time actually that Seth's ever been to that circuit, and he acquitted himself pretty well, I must say. Jaco Steyn starting to lose a bit of ground now too, Francois Hubert.
Yeah, there is Hubert just ahead of him. Well, not much, only 0.7 of a second between them as we ride aboard with the Jaco Steyn. And you can see Francois Hubert just ahead of him. The cars bottom out heavily there. This is another place where the cars will bottom out. Just there, listen to that as his car smack back into the tarmac again as Jaco Steyn goes after Hubert. Only 0.4 of a second between them. And then they are 3.3 seconds behind Nathan Victor. As we look at the nose cam here of Jaco Steyn, looking at the back of the AlphaTauri machine there, the Honda of Francois Hubert.
He closed up pretty neatly, but the fact that we've actually got that shot, have a look now, if you can stay close enough, that first set of Frankie, you spoke about it before we went on air, just hammers the car as you got high curbstones, right, left, right and left again.
Now that's what I refer to as the dog leg, and it is very, very technical to get to that part of the track. If you get it all wrong, they've just put a lap there on Van der Wiele as he's literally going backwards here, is poor Seth. So Jaco Steyn still sitting right in there behind Francois Hubert, 0.4 of a second between the two of them. Francois P8 and Jaco there in P9. And all over the back of him, but there's a fight still going on here, Gary, for Kutsia's 3rd position. He's got Busi and Victor tucked in there. We'll have a look at that one now. But we first look at Familiaris, who's only 0.2 of a second behind 2nd place man Byron Mitchell.
Well, that's about as close as you can get without actually rubbing the back bumper. And if you use no curbstone, you're not going to be quick around this track. If you use too much curbstone, it's like that. It sounds like a bucket of bolts and nuts that you're busy throwing around as you walk through down the passage, and you get that echo sound. So really hammering these cars very hard. 0.2 of a second right there with him. It doesn't get much closer than that.
Well, here he comes. Sits on the outside, going into the last corner of Mitchell, does Familiaris. But Byron holds it out of that final corner. There's the pit lane entry to their left-hand side as they race down into turn number 1 into Duff's Dip. And then Duff's Dip, that's where that little dogleg section goes. Look at those cars get airborne as they work their way around into McIntyre. And then through McIntyre they go towards Butchers, and then that chicane. Those cars get completely airborne. There's a Nathan Victor. He's all over the back end of Dario Busi, and both of them are on the back end of Jason Kutsia, and that's the three cars that you see there. The in-car came from Victor, and then ahead of him is Boosie, and ahead of Boosie is Kutsia.
It looks like a lot of different lines that gets used around the circuit to try and not throw the car at the scenery and to stay off the high curbstones. A lot of variety that's into that. One man that we haven't really noticed today the way we normally do is Luke Lucchese. Luke Lucchese finds himself down in 12th position.
Yeah, and there's big gaps between these guys from Van der Westhuizen and all the way down. Luke Lucchese sits there in that 12th position, and Luke, losing the tail and climbing over the rumble strip, and then those little poles, those flexible poles going over them, and then just losing the tail end there completely, and that's why Luke is in P12. Not a happy chappy is Lucchese. Sander Bakari, the tail end just stepping out of that Audi there of Sander Bakari. As we go back here live with Luke Lucchese, listen to that, look at that, how the heck do you hang on to those cars? And Lucchese is right in there in that 12th position, and he's got a best time of a 52, and his last lap was a 59.5. So that's because of the off.
Yeah.
So not all well there for Luke Lucchese.
Nope, not at all. Let's going to have a look back at the Julian from the iRSA. How's it going there? Well, pretty similar to what we saw. 0.2, 0.3 of a second. And, well, I don't think that's going to change all that much. Jason Garcia must be starting to feel the pressure now from Dario Bussi, because Dario Bussi is putting in some decent times. Let's see what was the last lap times that had. Dario Bussi a 52.017. And was a 51.8 by Jason Garcia. So Jason a little bit quicker on the last lap, but I think during the course of the lap he's actually got himself just a little bit closer than that.
Yeah, there goes Dario Bussi. As we said, we welcome Jano van der Westhuizen back. We certainly welcome this young man, Dario Bussi, back, definitely. Dario sitting there in that 6th position, and he's only 0.6 of a second behind Jason Kutsia. And then a second behind them in P7 is Nathan Victor. There, Nathan just comes into play now. Nathan Victor working his way around. Then it's Jaco Steyn. Right behind him is the AlphaTauri outfit there of Francois Hubert. Only 0.4 of a second between them. And then Janu van der Westhuizen working his way up into P10. And he's a second ahead there of John Weiss. Then is Luke Lucchese coming through there. And not too far behind him, all 4.7 seconds behind him is Herman Lazarus. And then Sandro Bakari coming through there as well in that 14th position.
Francois Hubert getting very close to Jaco Steyn, taking a slightly different line as they climb up over the last corner and get themselves up onto over the rise on that straight. Look at that, Francois Hubert, 0.4 of a second. Keep an eye on the leaderboard on the left-hand side. It's 0.2 on a regular basis now. Julian from the RS behind Byron Mitchell as we watch Francois Hubert on the tail end of Jaco Steyn laying 8th and 9th position. They've got quite a bit of a gap from Jano van der Westhuizen, but a lovely return for Jano van der Westhuizen, I must say, as it looks like John Weiss just passed Jano. Let's see what that one looked like. How did he get past?
Yeah, there was an overtake on the track there. I saw it on the leaderboard. Janu running a little bit wide, getting himself in a touch of trouble out there, and then losing that position to John Weiss. But Francois Hubert's got other ideas. Up on the inside of Jaco Steyn goes Francois Hubert, and that's a clean overtaking move there by Francois, and then he gets slightly tagged there out of the corner by Jaco, who's fighting right back again. The two of them are side by side. Jaco does have the line there. Remember, this dog leg is so difficult to go through, and look at him drifting that car back ahead there of Francois Hubert.
It was one hell of a piece of driving that. Wow, between the two of them. And to beat Francois Hubert, you got to get up early on a Saturday morning, that's for sure.
Oh, but not if you run on the dirt. Doesn't matter how early you get up on a Saturday morning. He's got himself in terrible trouble. He's all over the place there, trying to wrestle with that macaw of his Steyn, and he's now lost a lot of ground there to Hubert. As a matter of fact, he's 2.3 seconds now behind Francois Hubert is Jaco Steyn.
Well, I was thought that this race was going to be a full 20 minutes, but the white flag has in fact been deployed already. So if that's the case, that means next time around this man will be swart with almost 10 seconds of real estate between himself and Byron Mitchell is going to be taking the checkered flag.
Well, you can see there it says heat 1, lap 20. There is the white flag is shown there as well. So, yeah, this then will be the last lap as the checkered flag comes out. Yes, and Yuri Swart has won this one. Byron Mitchell will get to the line. 3/10 of a second ahead there of Julian Familiaris for second and third position. Then here comes Johan Fourie. He's there on the lead lap. He's got a couple of back markers ahead of him. He comes home in P4. P5 is Jason Kutsia. And then Dario Busi in P6, followed there in P7 by Francois Hubert. And P8 will go to Jaco Steyn.
Next man going to come through there, Nathan Victor, after that recovery with Jonty Weiss all over his back bumper. And then Jano van der Westhuizen. Luca Kezi comes through as well. I think that's the worst result he's had for a long, long time. Herman Lazarus coming up with the Hyundai N-Series car. And then the last man still on the lead lap that's going to pick up the checkered flag. That's him coming through there now. That be Sandro Bakari. Wow, that was pretty interesting stuff. So that then rolls us out of heat number 1 in terms of the results as such. And well, we'll see if we can get that result to actually come up for us. The last time we had a situation where the computer said, hold on a second, just wait, I will come back to you. And if we can get that, we will put it up for you. So now they've got a bit of a break, if you want to call it that. And the guys can go out and go and practice if they want, or alternatively, they can just take a deep breath and carry on from there. Let's go to a bit of a different shot. Let's pick up something like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one is going to play itself out, because now, frankly, the top 10 are actually going to be inverted. That's going to make for very interesting stuff.
Yeah, well, let's have a look at Heat 1 results. It was up there on the screen briefly.
That's the qualifying. Is that one? And then let's go to Heat number
there we
1.
go.
I just want to do an invert of that, Frank, if you don't mind.
No,
just
true.
have a look at that one. So it was Umpi, Jason, Julian, Byron, and Johan. And the results in the heat.
Umpi, Byron, Julian, and Johan. So
very little changed up there.
Yeah.
And I think the next one, in fact, was Jason. Let's just do an overlay on that. Jason did qualify pretty well. Jason was, in fact, in second position.
Yes.
So let's have a look at those Heat 1 results.
Right, so it was Umpi Swart from Byron Mitchell and Familiaris. That is your podium. But let's have a look. Who will now start this one in pole position? Jonty Weiss and Nathan Victor will be on the front row. The second row will be Jaco Steyn and Francois Hubert. The third row will be Dario Busi and Jason Kutsia, followed by Fourie and Familiaris. And then the front row of the grid will be Byron Mitchell and Umpi Swart. So Mitchell and Swart will be in row 10, and row 1 will be Jonty Weiss and Nathan Victor. So it's just inverted as you see it there on the results for heat number 1.
Wow. So Jana van der Westhuizen 1 spot further forward, and we saw how close they were when they went over the line. Could have put himself on pole position. You might actually find that he's happy that he's not on pole position, because with all these quick cars coming through from behind, actually a very difficult race to be able to start in pole. Know that the 9 guys behind you were all quicker and more successful than you in the previous heat, and now you've got to try and hold them out. Jaco Steyn, Frankie, once again, a very good result. Top 10.
Yeah, he's staying in that 8th position for Gazoo Racing. There is Jaco Steyn. So well done there to him. The first 14 drivers was on the lead lap. Everybody else was 1 lap or more down, starting from Seth van den Biele, Willem Botha, Werner Swart, Peter Hubert. And if my facts are right, remember Troy was supposed to start in pit lane. I don't think Troy...
Pit lane, he didn't come out.
Correct, he never came out onto the circuit. So Troy did not do that one, which means if he does the second one, he will then start stone last.
Yeah. Well, this will show something else pretty interesting, and this is something to seriously look forward to. Clash of Nations, South Africa versus New Zealand. The top 10 of the MSA GTE series and the top 10 of the Sports and GT Masters were all given the opportunity as a 20-car team to take on the might of New Zealand, and it's going to be happening at 10 o'clock South African time, and that is going to be on the 25th of September. That's one definitely to look forward to, so don't forget about that one. We're 4 minutes 14 into the warm-up, and well, you just saw the car that just went past there was Luke Lucchese, so definitely Luke Lucchese not 100% happy. And once again, Luke, well, not once again, but the same scenario as Johanna van der Westhuizen. If they could have been 2 places higher up, Luke Lucchese would have actually been for heat number 1 on the front row.
Yeah, well, yeah, if the two of them were 2 places up, then Janu would have been on the front row there with him, as you say, Gary. So, yeah, not to be, but a good return there, I must say, for Janu van der Westhuizen, and also very good return for Dario Busi. Janu ending in 11th, and, of course, Dario also ending in the top half of the field. So, we're about to go racing pretty soon. The 5 minutes warm-up has done, and it's over, so we are going to go racing very, very soon for heat number 2 with the first 10 cars doing a pole invert.
Well, next time you see that, there's going to be some results that's going to be in there, and we're going to be having a look to see exactly how that one's going to play out. So, as you said, John Weiss and Nathan Victor, front row of the grid, Jaco Steyn and Francois Joubert from Dario Busi, Jason Kutsia, that's the front 3 rows.
Yeah, then Johan Free, Junior Familiaris, Byron Mitchell, Yuri Swart, and then Jan van der Westhuizen and Luke Lucchese. That's the first 12 cars out there.
Well, there you see a slightly higher view of them. Let's go a little bit further down on that grid.
Then it's Herman Lazarus and Sander Bakari, Seth van den Abelen, Willem Botha, Werner Swart, Peter Joubert, Sway Joubert, Clinton Besaidenout. And if he takes part in this one, it will be Troy Dollarcheck right at the back of the field.
This is going to be interesting stuff. I think the only way we're going to get into all the action is to actually stick with the blimp shot as such. I don't think there's going to be any other real way of picking up as much. In fact, let's take that off the screen as well. Let's get a full sight session of what's going to be happening out there. Frankie Ernest, take them off the line.
Let's wait for the lights. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and away they go. Oh, and a horrible, horrible start there by Jonty Weiss. He's dropping down into that 4th position so far, but it's Nathan Victor. He's the man that sits out there in P1. Jaco Steyn is there in that 2nd place. Oh, and Fourie is getting it out of shape. He's wagging that thing all over the place and into turn 1. He's caught it neatly, has Fourie, but he's lost tons of ground. He's down there in that 14th position. Jaco Steyn is in that 2nd place, chasing down Nathan Victor. Right behind him is Francois Joubert, Dario Busi. There is Yuri Umpiswat sitting out there in P5. And he's just ahead there of Byron Mitchell. Look at Yuri Swart is all over the back of Dario. Dario looks up on the inside and makes contact there with Francois Joubert.
And that almost affects Umpi's drive as well. There's just nowhere to go. Look at that. They are pushing, bumping, shoving, rubbing wheel nuts. Well, as they say in the classics, and son, rubbing is racing.
Yeah, rubbing is racing, but this is more shunting than what it's rubbing is racing out there. But these guys are driving hard. Jonty Weiss there, you see him just ahead on screen of Francois Joubert. There is Familiaris coming through towards us. There is Sandro Bakari, and he is fighting there with Jason Kutsia. Is Sandro Bakari. There's Luke Lucchese, and there is Fourie. He's having a go at Janu van der Westhuizen. Oh, and somebody tumbling all the way down. Jason Kutsia is tumbling all the way down the leaderboard, and Luke Lucchese is gone. Luke Lucchese is gone. There's chaos. Johan Fourie is gone. Oh my word, it's chaos going into that final hairpin corner.
That's taken out a lot of big names, and it's not completely over yet, as a couple of the guys, I think, we're just going to up. The full course yellow has come out.
I think that's a good call.
Come out. Well, I wasn't aware that they were actually going to run a full course yellow on this one, so that's well done, Mr. COC. I think it's Jan Spammers, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it is Jan Spammers.
The COC. Now, how they're going to get them all back in their positions, I don't know. Are they just going to give everybody a chance to go and fix it and then come back? It's going to be pretty interesting to see. Let's look from upstairs. How many of the cars are actually there? Well, there's a good couple of them that have made it through. Let's have a look, see who's left in the pits. It's only Johan Ferry that's still in the pits, and yeah, he's been standing there for 48 seconds already. So let's hope that he can get that one sorted out. It was Jason Kutsia, I think, was the very first one where that whole lot started, and from there on out it was just total chaos. There was nowhere for everybody to go, and got bang into the back of the next one, and yeah, there's nothing much you can do under that kind of situation. So he's the only man that's still there in the pits. It's Nathan Victor that is up front, and Nathan Victor will kind of fancy this one because he's got the Jaco Steyn as a bit of a buffer, if you can call Jaco Steyn a buffer, from the evergreen Umbe Swart, and then a Dario Busi, another one of the young guns out there.
Right, let's have a look and see. The safety car still taking them around. There is Jonty Weiss, and then behind him is Familiaris, and then behind Julian is Francois Hubert, and then we've got Byron Mitchell. Behind him is Sandro Bakari. Behind Sandro Bakari, we've got Janu van der Westhuizen. Werner Zwart is in there as well, and there is Troy Dolacek in the Haas car. And Troy finds himself in that 12th position. He's ahead there of Seth van der Beely. Then Luke Lucchese is also there. There's Clinton Besaidenout. The guys are just busy trying to find their positions. And where is Johan Fourie? Well, it shows that he is out of the pits. Jason Kutsi has gone into the pits. Here comes Johan. Luke Lucchese has gone into the pits as well. So they were all there for a brief time, then they've all gone into the pits. Now Jason's working his way out of the pit area, and so is Luke Lucchese. But Johan, oh my word, all the way there in 21st position. Here comes Lucchese out of the pit exit, and it's been a nightmare for him. He got a 12th in race number 1, and 4 minutes and 52 seconds in here, he finds himself in like about second last position. That's Peter Hubert on the replay, as they're just dodging around. Look at Troy Dolacek in the Haas car, trying to get some heat in that tires as well. And yeah, Lucchese, as I said, in that second last position. He is second last to Johan Fourie.
He's trying to catch up to the pack. There is the next one in front of him. That's Jason Kutsia. And then there is Swayze Bear that has gone off. Well, looks like we've gone back to racing. So let's go back to the front end of the field.
Right. We have gone back to green again. The safety car is in. And Nathan Victor is the man that leads him around in the playbox car. Then it is Umbe Swart in that second position. Dario Busi sits there in third, followed there by Byron Mitchell. Right behind him is Jonty Weiss. Then it's Francois Hubert. Julian Familiaris is in there, as the rest of the field just come thundering through into turn number 1. There's Van der Beely coming through, but the man that you see there in second position, that is Yuri Swart. I don't think the intervals is too big between these guys. The intervals will be a lot more closer in that the mid-pack. You'll see it now. As a matter of fact, yes, look at Byron Mitchell has got them all stacked in there behind him. Weiss, Hubert, Familiaris, Steyn, Dolacek, Besaidenout, Van der Westhuizen, Swart, Lazarus, and Botha. They're all stacked in there behind fourth place man Byron Mitchell.
Yeah, as you say, as fast as you can pick on them, that's how close they are to one another. The closest of those gaps, to my mind, would be Francois Hubert. Francois Hubert all over the back end there of Jonty Weiss.
Right, so that is another little fight. We're looking at Jonty Weiss, and right behind him there is that man you see, Francois Hubert, and right behind him is Familiaris. Then Jaco Steyn is in there behind him. Then it is Troy Dolacek is the next man that's coming through, followed there by Clinton Besaidenout and Janu van der Westhuizen. There is Clinton, there is Janu van der Westhuizen, Werner Swart is the next man that is in there. Oh, somebody stepping out of line there. That's Lazarus. That's Lazarus. That's getting that thing's tail all over the place as Lazarus. And he is trying as hard as he can. He's 1.7 seconds, though, behind Willem Botha.
Well, there's bicycles all over the show, and I think this one is not going to be a wide open session at all.
There's a 10-way fight. You can basically say for the lead, it's only a bit of a gap between Steyn and Dolacek. The quickest man out there with a 51.362 is Familiaris, and he's there in that 7th position. So that's the fight you see out there. Nathan Victor in P1, from Yuri Swart in 2nd, from Dario Busi in 3rd, from Byron Mitchell in that 4th position. A 2nd behind him is John Device. There's John T in that green car. 4/10 of a second behind him is Francois Hubert. 3/10 of a second behind him is Familiaris. 1.7 behind Julian is Jaco Steyn. And a 10th of a second behind him is Dolacek, that's having a serious look. And a 2nd behind him in P10 is Clinton Besaidenout. And that is your top 10 in a blink of an eye.
Well, I tell you what, Clinton has had his own way whatsoever. Van der Swart is a little bit further back, and behind that Van der Swart car is another little train that's starting to come together there with Jana van der Westhuizen, and then Willem is in there in that train as well. Willem not having too much of a nice time, and looks like Willem Botha might have just had a bit of an off. It was Van der Swart that went off the circuit. Let's have a look at that. Just climbing the curve. You've seen a couple like that, but
this is
look
going
at
to
the
be
speed that he comes off.
a lucky boy.
Up, he keeps it all together, points it in the right direction, puts his foot on the gas, and gets it all going again. So he was actually quite lucky there. That wasn't too bad. In the meantime, Byron Mitchell has got past Dario Busi.
Yeah, in that hairpin, through he goes up on the inside, and Mitchell makes the move there on Dario Busi. Byron Mitchell are busy moving up as he makes a move there on Dario Busi. So Mitchell will find himself a bit. This is Francois Hubert going through on John T. Weiss.
Yep.
So Weiss been overtaken there by Francois Hubert, and that's Jano van der Westhuizen. This is Nathan Victor. Nathan Victor, and he goes off, he goes wide, makes a mistake, and releases Umpi Swart.
The only
and
thing he
Umpi
did,
goes up
Frankie,
another position.
The only thing he didn't do was lift off the accelerator.
Yeah, I kept it buried. But it's a train of cars that you see out there in that replay. There is Van der Westhuizen. He's in that 11th position. Just under a second ahead there of Willem Botha. But we go back to Yuri Swart, Nathan Victor, and that man there in 3rd position, Byron Mitchell. Bouncing all over the place. There are these cars. That is Mitchell. And he is right on the case of Nathan Victor. 4/10 of a second between himself and Nathan Victor. And they're both chasing down Umpi Swart. Victor is 8/10 of a second in the 2nd position behind Yuri Swart. As Nathan mustn't drive it on the dirt, because that's going to bring Mitchell a lot closer to him. And that is the first 3 cars you see in your shot there going into that last corner, that tight right-handed hairpin.
A 4-way battle with Clinton Besaidenout right in that pack as well. Clinton now trying to make a move there. That lovely paint job on the car of Jaco Steyn. 2x2 they went into the arc, and 2x2 they go down the main straight at Knockhill.
Yeah, and then Dolacek is right there as well. Dolacek sits there with John T. Weiss, and this is hectic stuff. This is hectic stuff. Here comes Jaco Steyn, and at the car at the back of that pack is a Clinton Besaidenout. The back of that 4-way train is a Besaidenout and Willem Botha, 5.6 seconds in there behind him. Oh, Clinton driving that thing in the sand. It's not going to help if you go in the sand there, Clint. But they're working their way around. Here comes the man that's behind him. That is a Willem Botha, Toyota Gazoo Racing. And he's only 1.2 seconds ahead of Herman Lazarus. That is there in that 12th position. Then you've got the Werner Zwart. And he's been hassled heavily there by Jano van der Westhuizen.
Byron Mitchell's going to have a move up on the inside line. No, he comes back in there behind Nathan Victor. Young Nathan Victor having a very good run today. But that man called Byron Mitchell pops up on the inside and they start to rub a couple of wheels.
Yeah, contact is made, and eventually Byron Mitchell gets his nose ahead there of Nathan Victor. But now Nathan must be careful because Dario Busi is in there. He's only 6/10 of a second. Make it 7/10 of a second behind him, and only 8/10 of a second is a Familiaris. There comes Julian. There's a little bit of a gap of 1.8 seconds before you see Francois Hubert, and he's 1.7 seconds ahead of Dolacek that finds himself in that 7th position. But Jonty Weiss has been hassled heavily there by Jakustein, and not too far behind them is a Clinton Besaidnout. Clinton Besaid not too far behind. You do see Pian Fourie behind them, but Fourie is a lap down because he was in the pits very, very long.
Whoa, that was very sideways by Jonty Weiss, and that's why you see the two of them close up like that. Jonty got it way airborne, but a very, very difficult piece of circuit, and you see how they're playing with the accelerator all the time. Every time you go through there, it's like doing a gym car. Yeah,
Jaco staying there on Jonty Weiss. Jaco's gone 6 laps down, 6 positions down, I apologize, since this one got underway. And his best is a 51.8. His last was a 51.9. Therefore, Jaco staying through the final hairpin. They go, still chasing down Jonty Weiss ahead of him there. Jonty in P8 and Jaco there in P9. And then on the lead lap behind them is Familiaris. But this man has got nobody ahead of him that is in the lead. That is Yuri Swart. And he's 3.5 seconds behind this man you see there in second place, namely Byron Mitchell. There's Nathan Victor in that 3rd position. He's been hassled there by Julian Familiaris and by Dario Busi. 5/10 of a second between Julian and Dario for P4 and 5. Then in P6, it is Francois Hubert. He's only a second ahead of Troy Dolacek. Where's Troy? There comes Dolacek. And you would fancy Dolacek's chances to move up into that 6th position.
But don't forget about Jonty Weiss. He's had a pretty decent run. He's not completely out of the running at this stage of the fight. Jaco Steyn had a pretty decent run inside of the top 10, still inside of the top 10. Clinton Besaidnout, not a great day for him so far.
No, Clinton is there in that 10th position, and then 4.2 seconds behind him in P11 is Willem Botha. And it's not every day that you say Johan Fourie is a back marker and a lap down, and he's in that fight, but he's not part of that fight, is Fourie. That man is in 11th position. That is Willem Botha, and he's just ahead there of Herman Lazarus. But we go back to this fight here. This one with Familiaris, and he's all over the back in there of Nathan Victor. Into the hairpin they go, and the two of them are now 1.5 seconds behind Byron Mitchell. But here comes Familiaris. Victor on the inside, Familiaris on the outside. Nathan has got the line for Duff's Dip, and literally they don't call it Duff's Dip for nothing, because the car's bottom end in that little dip that you see there in the top right hand side of your screen. And Familiaris is all over the back end there of Nathan Victor. Here comes Dario Busi. Busi is on the move as well, and Familiaris can't drive off the circuit too much because he's going to be gobbled up there by Dario Busi.
Oh, Busi's definitely closing because they're fighting one another, and there you can see cover that inside line once again. So there's no doubt that Nathan Victor has got to do the cover lines. Probably find going to be a cutback. Yep, and that's where they change the lines, but no, Jude Familiaris can't do much with that one. We're already 16 minutes into this one, 18 laps down.
Well, now the two of them are side by side, Familiaris and Victor, and the man with the best seat in the house there is Dario Busi, and through he goes. As a matter of fact, they're both going to go through, and there's contact between Busi and Victor. There is contact between the two of them, and Dario gets through, but Julian has gone through a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't think that... you might get a slight irritation factor from the other drivers when you do a do-or-die move like that. It's lovely for us to watch from a spectator point of view, but not nice when it happens to you up on the inside line. And Troy Dolacek going one-on-one with Dario Busi, and once again a bit of contact.
Yeah, a lot of contact at the one. And who's coming back? Here comes Nathan Victor. Nathan Victor's coming right back as well. And there you see Francois Hubert and John Weiss is in the house as well. This is going to be an ultimate war. That is Busi, that's all over the back there of the youngster. Well, they're all youngsters all over the back there. No, there's contact. That's payback. That is payback. Nathan Victor says, thank you very much, Mr. Busi. I'll just help you off the circuit. And a lot of damage there to Dario Busi's motor car.
Yeah, and his opportunity to get further towards the front as well. But I mean, you look at Troy cut him off. I mean, when he wanted to go, Dario wanted to go up inside of Troy. Troy just moved across. He said, no, you're not going through. That's it. 4 of them. As I said, to the arc, they went 2 by 2. Let's go almost 3 abreast.
One more lap to go. Yep, the white flag is out. Umpi Swart will win this one comfortably. 4.6 seconds ahead of Byron Mitchell, followed there by Julian Familiaris. But is that Weiss that got spat out there? Yes, it is. John Weiss right up there against the tyre wall. And Nathan Victor will have a look and see. There goes John Weiss. There's contact between himself and Francois Hubert. And we off the circuit. There goes John Weiss.
Well, let's go back to the front into the field because it's not going to be much longer. And that man is going to be taking the checkered flag as such. He's done it utterly brilliantly. It's Umpi Swart that takes the win. Byron Mitchell, the next man that's going to be coming through. And look how close they are as they come across the line. Utterly brilliant stuff. Julian from the RS comes across the line. Here comes Troy Dolenchik. Jaco Stein's going to make it just ahead of Nathan Victor, and right in there with them, Francois Hubert.
Yeah, and then right behind him is Dario Busi, Clinton Besaidnout, and Willem Botha coming through. Here comes Janu van der Westhuizen. He'll cross the line just ahead there of Werner Zwart, followed there by Jason Kutsia and Herman Lazarus and Sandro Bakari. Sandro finishing there in that 15th position, coming out that last corner, and Bakari heading towards a checkered flag. And then it's a very dejected Luke Lucchesi that will finish there in that 16th position.
Sure. Wow. How do you explain this one? It's sure. I think there's going to be a fair amount of discussions that's going to go down this one. Let's see if we can pick up those results for you and stick it up on the board for heat number 2. Computer's still putting it all together for us.
I think it's confused as well, that computer. It had just too much to deal with all at once. There we go.
Nope, still not coming through.
Computer's still confused. I don't blame it.
How much info would you want? There's heat 1, so it hasn't taken heat 1 away from us. Let's see if we can get heat 2. Nope, it still doesn't put that one together. Let's see if it'll give us the overall results. Let's have one last shot at that on the overall results. No, it doesn't want to give it to us there either. So, well, then the only other way is to go back to our original board.
Yeah, well, that's as good as it. A big thanks to Malemba Lodge. That is Jaco Stein. The action has been so fast and furious. We never had time to even say thank you to Jaco from Malemba Lodge for the sponsorship of this slot. So, yes, it is indeed Yuri Swart, Byron Mitchell, and Julian Familiaris. That is your podium. And just outside the top 3 is Troy Dolenchik, keeping in mind that he did not do the first race.
It was very, very close. And frankly, there's a lot of people that could have done a lot better and or a lot worse.
Yeah, Nathan Victor did extremely well. So did Francois Hubert and Dario Busi. Clinton Besaidnout in there. Willem Botha. Then Janu van der Westhuizen. I must say, well done to Janu. In that mid-pack for race 1 and for race 2 after not doing this for, I was going to say months and months. It's probably even longer than that. And he finished there in 11th position. And then rounding off the top 12 is Werner Swart, the head there of Jason Kutsia and Hammer Lazarus, Sander Bakari, and then Luke Lucchesi. Yeah, it was rough, it was tough. We knew it was going to be like that. but then for touring car racing action, you wouldn't expect anything different.
A big thanks to Malemba Lodge. That is, in fact, Jaco Steyn. And the big news, Frankie, is that the next round, well, there's one more round. We'll have round number 5 that will also be sponsored by Malemba Lodge. And then thereafter, we will have a short break. I think it's 2 weeks. And then we're going to be going into the first main big touring car event, which was the route that Jaco wanted to go. That is Castrol, South Africa, coming online. And that's going to be 10 races. It's going to be every Monday night that they will be racing. And it's going to be for serious type of prize money. And that is the one that we're going to be looking forward to. So for next year, we will be having the, that's now the latter part of this year. Next year, for 2023, there will be a touring car series. There will be a Porsche series. The GTE, I do believe, will be replaced by GT3. And then the ever-popular, where it all started with Dr. Mike Ferrier, the Sports and GT Masters is the other one that will be running. So we'll pretty much have 4 series. Make that 5 because we'll be running the 6-hour races as well. So lots and lots to look forward to. But before we go to next year and the follow-up seasons from there, that is the one to really look forward to. The Clash of Nations, South Africa versus New Zealand. Now, those 2 cars that you see there, everybody from New Zealand, there's 20 of them, will be riding a car like that. Only a variation of the front windscreen at the top, and then also the color of the wing mirrors and numbers will determine who's in the car. Same for South Africa. The South African iRacing logo on there, the second gear logo on there as well. Thank you very much to Jaco Forster that did the designing of these vehicles for us, and super proud to have the second gear productions logo on there as well. So that one's going to be at 10 a.m. SAT South African time, and that's where we're going to be on the 25th of September. Frankie, great racing that we just had down at Killarney International. Looking forward to the Extreme Festival, the last round of the regional racing, and then the motor show.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there's lots of other motorsport coming up this weekend as well. We have a doubleheader for those people in Cape Town. There's Cape Town drivers this weekend, the people in Worcester. We've got Mega Oval. There's lots of other racing happening all over the country as well this weekend. And then, as Gary was saying, we still got the iRacing Masters coming up this Wednesday. And then, of course, on the 17th is the second last round of the Extreme Festival of Racing, and that will be at Killarney International Raceway, and so many other iRacing and real-time racing in between. It's going to be very, very busy, but then again, we wouldn't want it any other way now, would we?
Undoubtedly so. From Frank Yenis, the voice of West Motorsport, Gary Fleming, the voice of Killarney International Raceway and SA Oval, and from the second gear production studio down here in the friendly, somewhat wet, damp, and cold Cape Town. Thanks very much for joining us, and good night to you, one and all.